Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard, and we are here for Beard Book Talk. It's a damn fine day to talk about some books, and this is where I show you what I read, what I got, what I'm going to read. Yeah, so let's get right into it. So it's been a while since I've done one of these. I usually try to do one of these once a week, but generally I've hauled some books between then and now, and I haven't really I haven't gotten much, but I'm going to show you the stuff I've been working on basically since the new year. So I've already read 3 books this year, which isn't a lot. I mean, it's January 9th. Most of these were small, but I read The Mercy of the Tide by Keith Rawson, and I love this book. Um, Rawson's got 6 books out. I've read 4 of them now. And I'm going to be reading the next 2. I'm actually doing one right now, but going to be reading the next 2 in the very near future to kind of check Rawson off my list and then just be able to kind of keep up with what he puts out in the future. But loved this book, 5 star. Loved this book. I did another Carlton Mellick. This is my 4th Carlton Mellick read. This one's called You Always Try to Kill Me in Your Dreams. It was all right. I mean, I liked it. 3 star liked it, but they've all been 3 star liked them. Different varying levels of 3 stars. I think, though, this one, of the 4 I've done, was right in the middle, like maybe second to the top, something like that. But yeah, it was all right. I'm still got some more Mellick coming. I was really I enjoy these as quick little reads in between more difficult books. I said it 1,000 times. Try not to get super repetitive here, but then I realized he's got 65 books, and I have also mentioned that these aren't really cheap. Like, you can't buy them really for under like $10 a piece. So whatever. I mean, you can go check it out on Amazon, but there's a lot of titles, and they're not like, I don't know. I guess I would think a book this small might be a little cheaper, but it was all right. 3 stars. I liked it. And then I read the very first book in my new Pulitzer project, and for that I am reading Pulitzer-winning books, starting with 2024 and working my way back. Pulitzer fiction winning books. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I set a lot of goals, and I don't often keep to them. We'll see how far I get on this. But I finished this one. I liked it. 3-ish stars. I did not realize it was part 3 until recently. I'm probably not going to go back and read part 1 and part 2. I don't know that you have to. This book felt standalone, but then I was reading the synopsis for the first time in a video review of this, and it talked about it being a part 3. I'm like, well, shit. So, but yeah, someone did mention, Mudge, thanks, that reading this as a 3 of 3 hits completely different. But yeah, it's historical fiction, a lot of horrific elements in there, some sexual assault, some a main center of this story is a lunatic asylum, post Civil War lunatic asylum, which is cool. And again, I'm a setting guy, but yeah, Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips. It was probably in the 3.5 star range for me. So that's the stuff I have read since the new year. Now, I'll show you what I got, and then I'll show you what I'm reading, and then we'll talk about some plans, some immediate plans of stuff I'm going to read. The only book I got, I just recently did my top 5 of 2024, and one of the books on there was Snarl by John Bowden. Again, huge Bowden fan. Bowden is my cup of tea. He is my flavor, much like I'm finding Rawson to be. So I picked up, I think it's Bowden's most recent, The Bedmakers, that he wrote with Chad Lutzke. Also a Chad Lutzke fan. Stirring the Sheets is my favorite Chad Lutzke book. Spun Onion is probably my favorite John Bowden book, but I just read Snarl last year, and Snarl was also a 5-star read for me. But so I picked up The Bedmakers, and I'll be reading this sooner rather than later. So my current stuff is audio, and for audio, I am doing a reread of it. I'm about 600 pages into it, so a little bit over halfway. As you are probably aware, I've been doing a lot of King stuff this week. I finished The Dark Tower this way, and then I've done some other. I did Insomnia and The Long Walk, and with kind of a loose go of rereading all the King that I read at a very very young, impressionable age, and kind of reevaluating and seeing how it stands up, and if some of these King books that I would say are my favorites are still some of my favorites. So I'm doing it. Took on the monster, literally and metaphorically, I guess, and that's my current audio. Now, some other stuff that I want to do in audio. I've really been thinking hard about a Lord of the Rings reread through, and I've also been thinking about getting into the Game of Thrones books. I like longish books in audio. While I know that it kind of tamps down my throughput, I don't care about that. So I have been thinking about doing the Game of Thrones books in audio. Also been thinking about doing a Lord of the Rings read through. So you may see me go into one of those next, as opposed to another King book. But the next King book, well, that's probably before any of that though. Is I've got plans to do the Button Box, the Gwendy, the 3-book Gwendy series. I've read the first book and I have not read the other two, but I have plans to do those in audio. We'll see. So that's kind of my audio plans. Now, short stories. I always try to have a short story book, usually two going, because I like to do the constant shorts on shorts for my videos. So I'm working on Folk Songs and Trauma Surgeons by Keith Rawson. Dog is barking. This has been awesome. I've read the first 6 stories, and it is phenomenal, and it's on pace to be another 5-star Rawson read for me. Just absolutely loving his style. Again, this is my 5th Rawson read. The only one I have left to do after this is Smoke City. So loving that book. I'm also doing Happy Bunny and Other Mischiefs. Now, this book was sent to me for review by Rebecca Granston. I've read the first 2 stories and have liked them. So we'll be getting more about this book, and again, when I wrap up all the shorts, we'll review each of them. Can y'all hear that? You can't answer me, but that dog is kind of loud for me. So let's see. All right. And then last night I started Brother by Ania Alborn. I read The Devil Crept In by Ania Alborn. I think it is right there. In the tail end of 2024, really liked it. 4-star, liked it. Put a bunch of Ania Alborn books on my Christmas list, and Brother is one of the ones that I got, and I read the first 50 pages of it last night. So I kind of feel that I'm in a flow of an audiobook, which is something that either I've already read but want to reread, or something that I kind of somewhat know the story of, because again, I've said it 1,000 times, but I'm not that great at audio. So and then as far as novels go, I feel like I'm going to do an alternating schedule between a Pulitzer book and a horror book, or a book that I choose, and then a Pulitzer book and a horror book that I choose, so on and so forth. So the next Pulitzer book, so probably right after I finish Brother, is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. This one in 2023. Kingsolver is loosely a Kentucky author, I think. I don't know if she lives in Kentucky, but I'm pretty sure she was born and raised here in Kentucky. So when this book came out, I really wanted to read it. I have read definitely Animal Vegetable Miracle, A Year of Food Life, which is a nonfiction. She wrote about basically living off the land, which was a cool book, cool nonfiction book. But anyway, I've wanted to read this since it came out, and then it won the Pulitzer, and then I really wanted to read it, and then it got me thinking about this Pulitzer project. So this is the book that got me wanting to do this, but before I started doing it, Jane Ann Phillips 2024 Night Watch came out. So as soon as I finish Brother, this will be the next thing that I start. And then after that one, I'm going to either do, I'm going to either knock out Rawson, be done with Rawson, Smoke City right there, or I'm going to read Little Eve by Catriona Ward, which would also knock out Ward for me, having done Needless Street, Sundial, and Looking Glass Sound, which was in my top five. It's right there, which was in my top five books of 2024. So either way, I get a completely knocking author off the list, and both of these authors will be ones that I'm keeping up with going forward. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's everything I read so far this year and everything I'm working on. And yeah, appreciate you being here. Hit like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I am trying to grow the channel. And I know, I'm different than a lot of booktubers. I'm not into the production. I'm not into cutting videos and putting in cool clips and things like that. I'm really just a guy that reads and likes to then talk about them, and then because I don't feel like, because I've lost too many books along the way. I mean, I've lost years and years of reading because I was not documenting it in any way, shape, or form, and that bothers me. I also feel like I'm in this midlife place where, like, I'm trying everything one more time. Like, restaurants, they get one more, restaurants that I may not like a lot, they'll get one more shot, and they're either added to the good list or the bad list. Like I said, I'm redoing all this Stephen King stuff that I did when I was a kid. Movies, I'm rewatching movies to kind of reestablish. Well, did it stand? I mean, I liked it 20 years ago. Did it stand? Things like that. And of course, my wife was like, "Well, why do you?" Because I was never a reread guy. I never was. I was always like, "Why would I reread something when I could add another book to my list?" But I'm at this weird midlife thing where a lot of these authors, I mean, I always use Richard Lehman, but a lot of them, I can't tell you what I read, what I didn't read, and so, like, if I was to come in here and try to talk about Richard Lehman, I'd be like, yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is that I don't. It's not that I consider like everything I've done in the last couple years like my starting point, and all the other stuff I did the rest of my life is thrown away book wise, but on some levels I kind of feel that way. Like I completely waxed my Goodreads at one point, and don't get me wrong, I mean, because it wasn't like I was using Goodreads, when I was reading 10, 15 years ago, but I completely, and so, like, I've only got like 200 some odd books and that I've read on Goodreads, but while I've probably, you know, really read, thousands and thousands of books. But anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is, I'm kind of retrying things with the King rereads and whatnot. I honestly don't know what I was saying. I've completely lost what I was trying to say there. So anyway, this has been Well Read Beard. This has been my book talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong